Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we get ready for a 9-game Saturday slate. Goodness gracious, what have we done to deserve this, Adam?
Yeah, it was nice yesterday only having 6 games, but not a huge fan of having 9 Saturday games to deal with. But should be plenty of news, and at the same time, I do think that the weekend slates are still where the biggest edge is. So it is kind of nice when we get a lot of games.
Yeah, so we've got you guys covered with content. We have the Early Bird Podcast, which we're doing right now, and then at 9:30 we're going to have Adam and myself taking a more leisurely look through the games. We have quite a few teams on back-to-back for the Friday-Saturday action, so we'll have additional information, of course, once the games are over, as we record this Friday night with... let's see who is going to be on a back-to-back. Orlando, Atlanta, Washington. Let's see. I feel like I'm missing somebody. New Orleans. There may be one more. Boston. So we've got a few to look at. Then a few games on the Saturday crew. They're going on Sunday, so you want to keep an eye on that. But we have DFS strategy show with Adam and myself at 9:30 Saturday morning. We will go game by game, including the 2 early games that we are going to forego. There's a 3 o'clock and a 6 o'clock. We'll deal with those later. And then you'll get live before lock with Fast Eddie Fear, who is back from Mexico. So I believe we'll be going at 6 o'clock. If we go earlier than that, we will announce the time on Twitter, so you guys can catch that. Speaking of Twitter, we have an amazing Awesemo promo. We actually have 2 of them. So you have 2 choices here. We'll talk about the first one. This is if you use the promo code 2020, you can get 20 days of all access Awesemo Platinum for $20. Now, that offer goes away on January 10th, so if you're like Adam and hoping to get a few more holiday gifts to some people he forgot to get gifts for, he will be using that, and he has till January 10th to get that done. But that is the best deal we've had. We do not do these deals very often at all, so you're going to want to take advantage of that. For those of you that know and love the Awesemo product, we'll talk about a 20% off an annual membership offer that we have coming up shortly. But Adam, they're here to hear you. Let's move on into point guards. We've got 18 teams in action. I'm sure you have plenty to discuss. Would you like to start off with cover boy Luka Doncic, who is on our podcast promo photo here?
Yeah, I accidentally just pulled up the night slate for Friday night, but I mean, but Luka playing again without Porzingis in a really good spot against the Hornets. The only real concern you have is, will the Hornets hang in the game? But obviously that's not something that you're going to be too concerned with. All you have to do is look at recent games to figure out why you shouldn't be too concerned about blowouts. Luka's really expensive, but without Porzingis this year, about a 40% usage rate, assist percentage goes up, rebounding percentage goes up, potentially playing more minutes as well. The only real negative that I could point to outside of the fact that he is really expensive is that if Dallas does start JJ Barea again, that does eat into Luka's usage a little bit just because of how ball dominant JJ Barea is, but that's still kind of just nitpicking.
All right. Yeah, there was the whole kerfluffle there with Jalen Brunson not starting. Did he get in at all in the first half? Was it the first half?
I don't think he played until like the fourth quarter.
Okay, I was going to say at some point he got in, I looked and he had 1 minute. And I was just like, oh man, glad I went well under the field. I was actually on the live before lock and I was saying go under the field on him. Not that I even expected that to remotely be an outcome, but I was just like, this guy doesn't do well next to, frankly, nobody does very well next to Luka. In the backcourt at least, and even Porzingis, but Maxi Kleber, Powell, some of those guys we may have to discuss at various points here. But as we work our way down the pricing list, here are a couple guys we want to note who are out. Kemba Walker was out Friday night. He had 103-degree fever. It sounds like he has the influenza strain B, if I understand correctly what's going out there. So that's not very good. I don't think he'll play on Saturday, but we'll have more news on that. You've got D'Angelo Russell, who is dealing with a bum shoulder. He has already been ruled out for Saturday. We've got Malcolm Brogdon, did not practice and will not be traveling on the 2-game road trip that the Pacers are on, so he is effectively out for the next couple games. You've got who else is mucking around there? DeJounte Murray is out on Saturday for personal reasons. So, geez, they're stacking up already. And then, DeLon Wright. Why has he got a Q tag here? Sore left foot. Oh, he only played 18 minutes. That's kind of disappointing, Adam. I figured he would get a little bit more. He's got a good matchup here against Charlotte. Those are some of the injuries we've got here at the point guard position. What do you like here? We potentially could be without Bradley Beal again as well. I mean, granted, he is the only player that has shooting guard only eligibility here on DraftKings, but that does dramatically impact the Washington backcourt if he's out again. Isaiah Thomas should be nice and fresh after getting ejected 90 seconds into the game here. What do you like as we cruise on down the pricing list?
I like De'Aaron Fox against New Orleans. He's playing big minutes. He's really productive. Salaries come up a bit, but I think he's still a pretty strong option. You mentioned Beal. I assume is going to play because I think he was just rested because of the back-to-back, but not very appealing matchup against Denver, so not really interested in that. Good matchup for Chris Paul and the OKC point guards as well, in addition to Jamal Murray going against the Wizards.
All right. Any interest in some of the? Okay. And I was pulling a Lofty there. Any of the like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander as I go down the price list. Derrick Rose here, who says he wants more minutes going against Golden State. You've got Colin Sexton, who has been getting an uptick. A set of solidified minutes here with Jordan Clarkson now in Utah. Any of these names pop, or are we ready to head on to the 2-guard?
I mean, there's not a whole lot else that I love. Like Derrick Rose looks fine against Golden State. Lonzo against Sacramento is okay. But I think that for the most part, I like those guys towards the top.
All right. There are two premier options here at shooting guard are Bradley Beal, who's carrying the potentially I'm not going to play tag, and then D'Angelo Russell, who I mentioned was already out. You've got Donovan Mitchell, Drew Holiday on the back-to-back there going into Sacramento. You've got Buddy Hield going against the squad that drafted him. Not that that means a lot, but Buddy Hield is putting up some serious shots. He has the second most 3-point attempts per game in the league, behind only James Harden. So he's been knocking them down and taking them from 3-point range. Does not see much usage or other increases when, surprisingly, Adam, and I know you've looked into this, when both Fox and or Bagley have been out, he just gets more minutes. He's played 34, 37, 36, 37 in his last few. That's nice to see. 7,100 feels like an okay price for him going against New Orleans on the back-to-back. What do you like here on the upper tier, which is really the mid-tier price points?
I like Hield. I think that the opportunity should still be there for him, playing big minutes, like you said, and in a good matchup against the Pelicans. I think that Drew is a little underpriced on DraftKings at 7,900. Zach LaVine's probably going to be a good tournament option. He's only 7,500 against Boston. It's a tough matchup. Everyone knows that, and that'll probably drive his ownership lower than it should be, given the wide range of outcomes that he has.
All right, let's cruise on down the 2-guard list. Oh, well, I've got it up on my screen, though. I do want to remind you the other promo code, or tell you about it for the first time, is 1 full year of Awesemo premium content, all access. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, PGA, NASCAR, MMA, etc., for $200 off if you use the promo code New Year, all one word. That offer is the first time we've done one at that extent of a discount, and I know that one is going away January 10th. So definitely take advantage of these that are out there. If you want to dip your toe in the water, the promo code 2020 will get you 20 days of Awesemo premium content for $20. If you already know and love the Awesemo product, then definitely use this opportunity to get 20% off your next year by using the promo code New Year. And reminder, you can also extend your subscriptions. All right, Adam, looking here, scrolling down to the bargain bins. You got Glenn Robinson going against, good God, is he really shooting guard eligible? He's moved all over the place in his short career. We know Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be out for another couple games with this hamstring injury. Seth Curry going against Charlotte. Does that have any appeal there? He played 31 minutes, was 9 of 13 from the field, nailed all 5 threes in his last 4 games. He has played 31, 26, 23, 25 minutes. He has taken 5, 10, 3, and 11 3-point attempts, and he has knocked down 13 of those 29 3-point attempts in those 4 games. How do you feel about Curry or anybody else as we wrap up shooting guard?
If you can find Curry still close to min salary on whatever on a site you're playing on, then I think it's interesting. But he's up to 5K on DraftKings, which I think you're starting to ask for a lot there.
All right. Well, it is the holiday season. It's the time to ask for a lot, right? Moving on. Our last. Oh, that's when I clicked on a nice little hockey league. I've got a hockey team I'm going on. There's your reasoning. Get the Osmo Premium package if you have Fantasy Cruncher using our projections. It's been a nice little gold mine for me for NHL. I've played every slate since the beginning of the NHL playoffs last year, and my ROI during the playoffs was about 35%. My ROI for the regular season on hockey is about 15%. Much, much higher than what I'm getting on NFL and NBA, where people are very, very good these days. Moving on to small forward here, Adam. Yanis Antetokounmpo. Guess what? If the games stay close, he plays a lot of minutes. And if it's a closely competitive game, the ball's in his hands, and he gets almost 2 fantasy points per minute in those situations. Dropped 64 DK points in 31 minutes against the Minnesota understudies. Who knew that they were going to take Milwaukee down to the wire? Giannis had 32 points, 17 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. Even he managed to get 5 personal fouls, but he was on the court a lot. Is he going to be on the court a lot against the San Antonio Spurs?
I mean, it really, like you said, it just comes down to how the game goes. For the season, he's averaging about 30 minutes per game. In competitive games, normally you'll get 34 to 36. He's averaged close to 2 fantasy points per minute this year. It's not a great matchup against San Antonio, but it's not a bad one either. On DraftKings, he is $900 less expensive than Luka Doncic, which is appealing. Yeah, I think that I would rather get to Luka if I can. Obviously, the savings come into play, but also you'll want to pay attention to ownership between those two.
All right. Did you know, and I know you did, I want to see. So San Antonio, over their last 15 games, 10th in pace, 101. This is per NBA advanced stats on NBA.com. So 101 possessions per game. On defensive rating, are they? They are actually 11th. So they've been getting a little bit better proportionally during the stretch. They are allowing 108 points per 100 possessions, but that is 10th or 11th here, kind of in a statistical tie there with Utah. So that's kind of interesting how that's shaking out. I know you and Lofty like to look kind of at a trailing. What do you look at? Just like a trailing month of the preceding month, or do you look at like a 15-game stretch? Or do you have any particular defaults?
I usually look at the last month, which normally comes out to be around 15 games.
Okay. And is that something you found to at least encapsulate potentially changes in rotations, roles, etc.? I mean, 15 games is enough to have played a variety of team types: slow, fast, good, bad, defense, etc. Is that what you have found to be a reasonable sample size?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just gives me a decent idea of how things are trending. It's not a stat that I use all that much, so I don't really care. I don't care that much about it being, perfectly accurate. It's more of just trying to
like an up or a down trend, as opposed to looking at the season-long stats, which can be misleading at this point for pace and efficiencies.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Sorry. Back to a teaching moment here for everybody. Back to our small forwards coming down. We've got, of course, Tatum and Brown. They're on the back-to-back. Will Barton going against Washington. That feels like a decent matchup here. Barton has been getting a few more assists than he normally does, kind of at the expense, it seems like, of Gary Harris. He has been steadily getting in the mid-teens, low to mid-teens for field goal attempts, and he's been taking 5 to 6 3-pointers per game, which is very, very nice. We're paying a top price point, but this is a phenomenal matchup for him going against the Wizards. Those season-long stats and numbers don't tell the whole tale, but he is averaging 15 points, 7 boards, 4 assists per game. It's not eye-popping, but it's pretty darn solid. Damian Lee going against Detroit, he's been pretty good. Finally had a bad game. It ended up being against Minnesota in a game that surprisingly was 99 to 84. Adam, that is a low game, almost as bad as the Toronto Miami the other day. That was like 80 to 90 as well. What the hell? They think it's the 90s?
Yeah.
What do you got for us in small forward purgatory here?
I like Ingram against Sacramento. Sacramento is a really slow team, but they should play a bit faster now that De'Aaron Fox is back. Ingram obviously has been really good for the Pels. It is a back-to-back though, a road back-to-back. Already talked about Hield at shooting guard. Hayward in an okay spot against Chicago. A decent price point on him, I think. Gallinari against Cleveland is nice. He doesn't have a really wide range of outcomes, but he should look like a pretty decent per minute option from OKC.
All right, looking at the bargain guys, Troy Brown at 5,400. You can get him at shooting guard or small forward on DraftKings. That's a reasonable price point for him. You also have, we'll have to see what happens with Jabari Parker. His minutes they've disappeared at him. But we know he's someone that when he gets some extra run, he can run into 30, 40 fantasy points. Tougher matchup there against Indiana. Just throwing out some names here. Josh Hart, we mentioned Shetty Osman. Michael Porter Jr., that'll be the last guy we look at. 4K even on DraftKings. Small forward, power forward eligibility, so he will be our transition guy. He has put up 23 or more in 3 of his last 4 games. Fantasy points, that is. 23, 28, 11, and then 33. He's been shooting the lights out, like literally shooting the lights out. 11 for 12, 3 for 6, 8 for 10, 4 for 7. That's nice to see. That part's not really sustainable, but against the Wizards, who's to say that can't last for one more game?
Right. Like I think on one hand, you obviously want to be careful looking at the box scores because, like you said, he's been shooting really well. And then in one of those games, you had him start for Gary Harris, but he still played 22 minutes off the bench with Harris back against Indiana, and now he's got a great matchup against Washington. But most importantly, like on DraftKings, he's still $4,000, whereas they've been pretty quick to adjust pricing on other guys. Just one example I noticed as I looked through the pricing was Sekou Doumbouya from the Pistons, who got the start over Blake Griffin last game, went from $3,000 to $5,500 after one game of starting. Meanwhile, you have Porter still sitting there at 4K. So I think that relative to how quickly the other values gotten priced up, Porter still looks pretty good if you're going to get 20 to 22 minutes against the Wizards.
All right, before we get to the top of the power forward position, I do want to mention our presenting sponsor at Yahoo. They do have the $150,000 baller. Now, the baller is their flagship tournament. For NFL, it did not fill this season. It got close towards the end, but they're running it out at $150,000. I will be shocked if this gets even up to 80% full. That locks tomorrow, or today, Saturday, if you're listening to this in the morning, at $435, $10 entry fee. And it's 150 max. They do have CSV upload now, but again, there's not even it's not even a third full yet. As we head into Friday night here. So something you'll want to look at. If you've not yet signed up, you can go to, hey, how about the Baller NFL article that was written by yours truly, highlighting players at each position for this weekend's NFL action. That article works not only for Yahoo, but for any of the sites. I've got recommendations from each team that you can look at there. But at the bottom section has the promo code, link, and instructions on how you can claim up to $30 with your initial DFS deposit over there at Yahoo Fantasy Sports. That comes in the form of YSRP or Yahoo Sports Rewards points, which are available for immediate use into any contest. If you are playing on Yahoo, you also earn the Yahoo Sports Reward points as you enter into contests, and they can be used later into other contests. So not a bad deal there. Power forward, Adam, take it from the top. What do you like?
So you got Sabonis against Atlanta without Brogdon, obviously a really appealing spot. His salary has come up. He's expensive, but you should get 34, 35 minutes. The rates go up a little bit without Brogdon out there, and it's a really favorable matchup against the Hawks. So he looks good. John Collins in a much tougher matchup on the other side, but he is less expensive, so I think a decent option there. Kevin Love's salary dropped about $700 on DraftKings from the last time that he played. Not a great matchup against Oklahoma City, but the playing time has been up a bit for Love lately, so I think that he's someone you could take a chance on.
They do play on Sunday, so if he's going to
keep an eye
rest,
on
it could be
there.
this one or the next one.
Right.
We just want to point that out because who knows what's going to happen, but that is a pretty nice price point there. Sorry, I didn't mean to completely cut you off, but I did.
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
All right. So back moving on from Love there. Gordon Hayward on the back to back. Keep an eye on that as we continue down the price point list. Lorimar Canon 6,300. He's finally showing a little bit of upside, I guess, is one way to put it. The problem is we're just not seeing minutes over 30 for the most part for him. That's been a little bit frustrating. You've got Bojan Bogdanovic going against Orlando at 6,100. He's kind of a whole lot of meh. Same thing on the other side with Joe Ingles, similarly priced on most of the sites. Hey, how about Paul Millsap at 5,000? Looks like he is beyond his what was it, a quad injury, but I wouldn't mind him for 25 or so minutes against the Wizards at 5,200.
Yeah, I think that it's obviously a good matchup for him. They don't need his size out there, so it wouldn't be surprising if you saw more minutes going to Jeremy Grant or potentially Michael Porter. But I still think that he's a reasonable option just because of the matchup.
So we have Michael Porter Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., and Otto Porter Jr.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. No relation for those of you scoring at home. Um, is this the last time Vince Carter plays Indiana? Is that worth anything? No, probably not. So let's move on to center and we can get on out of here. Hopefully everybody's having fun doing some errands, going to the grocery store, working in the yard, etc. Getting all those post-holiday chores. Nikola Jokic, 9,400, going against the Wizards here. He has not topped 40 fantasy points in any of his last 3 games. He is in those games averaging about 26 minutes per game. What are we going to do with Jokic?
Yeah, I mean, he dealt with foul trouble last game, so I'm not concerned about it. Like, he's going to be up and down, but we know how high his ceiling is. The salary is pretty affordable at 9,400 against the Wizards. It's a nice pace-up spot for Denver, and Washington is terrible defensively. So no issues with Jokic. I'm not concerned about his last 3 games or anything.
All right. How do you feel about Gobert and Vooch squaring off against each other?
Pretty unappealing matchup for both, I think. It's not the pricing isn't bad. 8K for Gobert, 7,900 for Vooch makes it interesting. If ownership is going to be low on Vooch, then I'd be interested in tournaments just because he is close to a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy and he's reasonably priced. So if you can get that at low ownership, then I don't really care all that much about the matchup.
All right. And oops, hit the wrong button there. Steven Adams going against Cleveland. That could be fun. What are we doing with the Dallas front court with Powell and Maxi Kleber, who is now up to 5,900?
I think it's pretty hard to talk about right now because Dallas changes their lineup like every day. We had Maxi start 2 games ago when Porzingis was out. Maxi started alongside Powell. Last game, Maxi came off the bench in the first half and then started over Powell in the second half. I have absolutely no idea who starts or how many minutes they play. So pretty tough without a starting lineup at this point.
All right. And everybody, that was our exclusive interview cut from Coach Rick Carlisle there. Come on, that was sort of funny, Adam. All right, we're getting on out of here, but we're going to talk Yahoo $10 ballers here. Jan Mahimny, thumbs up or thumbs down? Jan Mahimny at 10 going against Jokic. Someone's got to guard Jokic.
The minutes should be there. It just comes down to all the other $10 options on Yahoo.
Derek White, $10 without DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, that's appealing.
Bryn Forbes, $10. Not all $10 players are created equal. I would lean towards Derek White over Bryn Forbes.
Yeah, no question there.
Powell at 12. Dwight, that is.
Depends on the lineup.
TJ McConnell against Atlanta at 11. We know there's no Brogdon.
Yeah, I like McConnell there. Last game against Denver, he played 26 minutes. Aaron Holiday was in early foul trouble to start the third quarter. In the first half, he didn't play any minutes alongside Holiday. In the second half, he didn't play any minutes alongside Holiday either. So that's the concern. But even if you're going to get like 20, like around 20 minutes from McConnell, he's productive enough that he can get there against Atlanta.
All right. Maxi there's your cheap guy there. He is at 12. You've got Jordan Clarkson at 11. Patty Mills at 10. Would you prefer Patty Mills or Derek White?
Derek White.
Right, and let's see. Oh, ceremonial guy that is perpetually $10. Sometimes he gets up as high as 11, Adam. But that would be. Do you know who I'm going to say?
No.
Terrence Ross.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't have Jonathan Isaac. So he's actually someone we do need to mention. Tough matchup here against Utah, but minutes should be coming his way. It's a back-to-back. Who knows what is going to be happening with Aaron Gordon, who has had trouble staying healthy throughout his career. But Terrence Ross, probably a viable guy.
Yeah, it's fine. You just obviously are hoping his shots go in because he's not going to do much else.
Yes, indeed. All right, gamers. Well, with that, we're going to get on out of here. Again, all sorts of content coming for you Saturday. The NFL kicks off at 4:35. We have not one, but two shows. We've got a DFS strategy show as well as Live Before Lock already in the can on the YouTube channel, and coming out on a podcast is On the Contrary. We had Alex, Chris Baggs, and guests we had back by popular demand, Brick 75, BRIC 75. You guys are probably familiar with him. They do have a little bit of an interesting conversation regarding some DFS Twitter fun with Ricky D. And well, no, it's not really fun, but informative conversation. We saw, if you are on Twitter, you've probably seen the name Ricky D. He also plays by Curtis Painter. No, it is not Curtis Painter, the former Indianapolis Colt quarterback, but he is one of the probably top 10 DFS players in the world. He posted that through, I forget what it was, week 6 to 10-ish, he was up 600,000. He finished the season in NFL down 400,000. Yes, he had a $1 million swing in about 8 weeks. Adam, that just has to hurt anybody, right? Your psyche, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's he mentioned it in the post, and I agree completely. It's so tough because there's a couple things that make it tough. Obviously, I haven't had a downswing that big, but for one, like nobody outside of guys that play really high volume understand what like you're going. They don't understand it. So it's really hard to like do anything but internalize it. And then also, unlike a game like poker that a lot of us are familiar with, where you could just go in and mathematically analyze all of your decision making, you can't really do that with DFS. You can't just look and say, oh, I was 60% to get there and win this tournament. So it's a lot harder, I think, during downswings to keep confidence in yourself, since you can't just go and easily look at the math and see that you're still playing really well.
Yeah, for example, Isaiah Thomas, Friday night, played 90 seconds. Was that a good pick? Was it not a good pick? Was it bad luck? How would we have done if he had stayed on the court, et cetera, et cetera? There's
Right.
too many.
There's no hand history where you can just go like, oh yeah, 65% of the time he scores 40 points.
Yeah, I don't have any good poker analogies. I was going to go with too many forks on the decision tree, but hey, there you go. For those of you that understand poker, which is probably everybody, but I understand poker. I just never played it. It's everybody but me. That's a better hand history. That's a term I am familiar with. It is not in my regular lexicon because I've never had a need to use it. But in any event, something you can poke around there. But back to our shows, we'll have the DFS strategy show, and we'll have Live Before Lock. We'll also have a Live Before Lock NFL on Sunday as well. Those games start at 1:05. And then we've got Live Before Lock NBA going an hour before each of the slates, plus NHL for Saturday, because hey, it's hockey night in Canada and there are a lot of games on the slate. But with that, gamers, you can follow Adam, who now officially has way more Twitter followers than me, like 100, I think, maybe. I didn't look today, but it's more than me. He's at Ship My Money DFS. If you want to unfollow him and come help your old pal out, it's at EMAC DFS. Or you can follow us both. And of course, it is Osmo_COM, which is, by the way, where you can get see the promo code 2020, $20 for 20 days of full premium content access. That does include Slack. And Dan Strafford has been saying this on the podcast, Adam. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's full 100% unfettered DM access to Adam if you're a member of Slack.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's like our little holiday miracle here. But with that, gamers, good luck.